Petri dish, the Petri dish, the Petri dish.
This is
The Petri dish, the Petri dish, the Petri dish. This is the Petri dish. There's something growing in here, and today it is new guests. That's what's growing. Finally doing something that isn't just fucking the same three dudes that are very easy to contact. I'm finally talking to other people, and this time I'm talking to a wonderful guest, Luke Demus.
Hello.
There he is. He's I think I forget how long I've lived in Reno until I'm like, fuck. Like 5 or 6 years ago I might have met you. Probably 5.
I've been doing comedy for about 6.
Yeah, so it would have been right around
or with COVID time.
Oh yeah. I feel like everyone is allowed to just include the COVID year, even if you were like, well, I did comedy a handful of times, because it wasn't good for anybody.
Yeah, I don't really want to though. Because I feel like I should be doing better for
How long you've
7
been doing it.
years. Yeah.
That's what fucking sucks.
But I feel a little more comfortable at 4 or 5.
It's a little bit cheating though to just constantly be like, I've been doing it for 5 years, and then you go up and you fucking kill, and everyone's like, which years aren't you including? Because like I was trying to get on like a new people showcase, and I was like, yeah, I've been doing it for like now like 9 years, but then like 8, and they were like, you're not new. And I'm like, I'm new to people who have never seen me, which is most people.
Yeah.
And they don't like that. And I'm like,
A
it's
lot of
not my
people.
fault that any time I've tried to record a set, something has gone catastrophically wrong. It's not my fault.
How many soda waters do you drink when you have soda waters?
It depends on the venue. If I'm like at a bar location, I'm gonna drink an infinite amount of things that I can. I've learned to keep it below 2 drinks no matter what before I go on stage, because I'm not about to like need to pee right before I go on stage.
Oh,
That's
not
the worst
even
feeling.
2 alcoholic drinks. Just
I've also noticed
2 liquids.
I've also noticed after 2 alcoholic drinks, after that, the comedy does not come out good.
Nah.
Do you have any like ritualistic things before you go on stage where you're like, it's got to go this way or else I will do bad?
No.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, not that I can think of. I just
I mean,
I just go for it.
I know that Pioneer, it was never like there's frequent times where you'll feel like you're bombing, but have you ever done a show where afterwards you're like, none of my jokes are good? I'm throwing away everything.
Yes, for sure. I had I didn't bomb for like a year, I feel like. When I first started.
You came on the scene with like good bits. And then you like honed you did everything correct when you showed up, which is why it's fucked up. You showed up and you were there on time. You had bits prepared. You did those bits, and then you left the stage on time. And it was like, where the fuck's this guy been? You know, because like, so many comics can't do the bare minimum for like 3 years starting out. So like,
yeah.
You started off strong, and then it's like, well, where do you go when you're like about as good as people that have been doing it for like 5 years?
Yeah.
How'd
I've
that
gotten
feel?
quite a bit better, but thank you for saying that. Because I have had similar thoughts. I keep putting my thumb over the camera, my bad.
It's all good.
But I've had, I don't know. And it worries me that I still use like a lot of my jokes that I wrote before I ever went on stage. I've got a lot more too, but
yeah, and
I would think I should have been able to kick those out, but they still seem to be top 10.
It's tough because sometimes, especially with comedy, you can write a bit that's better than you can perform it. So like you'll start off and everyone's like, fuck, that's a great bit, but you're still like a little awkward as you go, and it's like the timing and pacing is a little off. But then when you're like however many years into it and you're like, might as well do this bit, like this one's an old standby, it can kind of like it's better because like now, like you're gonna drive a car better than someone who just got their license, no matter what kind of car it is.
Yeah, pretty much. Unless their dad was Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, that's true.
I have a new bit about putting my dog down, and
Oh
that's a
shit.
good time.
That clip that you put up after you did those ones at Coffee and Comics, they fucking killed me because that was I've been there where my dog is like actively dying and I'm like, I came to this open mic, but I'm pretty sure when I get home I'm gonna have to put my dog down. So here's 5 minutes of jokes, guys. And then it's like it makes you think afterwards, like, I could have just taken like a week off, collect my
Yeah,
thoughts.
I took a week off afterwards,
That's a
and
good
then
idea.
that was enough time. Yeah. What do
It's
you
just
do at that point?
yeah, like it's just enough to kind of like pop the filter on and be like, okay, what's the funny part now that I'm past traumatizing everyone as the joke, like now where's the actual bit going? Because that's easy to get
Yeah.
stuck in, is just kind of like laying a bunch of shit out flat for the audience and being like, all right, now you deal with this.
I love putting shit on other people, but making them laugh is better.
Yeah, and I got caught in the comedy trap of using it as therapy too much. Like through parts of the pandemic and then after a bunch of the other local comics we know and love died. It just kind of like put me in such a bad spot mentally that I was like still doing comedy, but it was just all existential and kind of awkward where everyone's like, I didn't come to an open mic to like watch you have a breakdown all the time. And then I would be like practicing those bits. And it's like, don't practice fucking with the audience. That's not going to help anybody. Been trying to
Yeah,
find
I've
my
been
joy
having.
again.
Did you find it?
I think so. I think I've
Or are
got
you
it
getting
back.
closer?
I'm getting much closer. I am much more in the mindset again of like, let's let everyone have a good time. You're here to be a fucking clown. Like bring the levity.
Good point. Yeah, I've had a rough few months of just existential crisis, I suppose you would call it.
Yeah, it'll happen.
But I feel like I'm wiggling my way out of it.
And that's where it's good to have it a little later. Because, some people, they'll start questioning how awful they are at comedy like 2-3 years in and then start quitting. But that's because usually when you're that new, you don't have any good bits. So it's real easy to give up. At least, like, luckily for you, when you're in an existential crisis, you have solid bits to go to. So you can just dissociate and say some comedy and it'll all be fine.
Yeah. I wasn't talking about comedy. I was talking about like dying.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah, I've been worried about that. Oh, I was listening to the podcast today. How'd your friend die from a horse? Or one of your guys' friends?
Yeah, that was Drew Corbin. His brother Sam used to be around the comedy scene a little more too. But yeah, like Drew was just driving home, and he like lived in Fallon, but then had to like work in another location, and that like highway in between the two was always filled with wild horses. And
Horse infested.
and so he like just hit one, and horses are a giant fat body on like four tiny little legs. So when you hit them, they just collapse into your shit. So, man, fuck wild horses.
Fuck horses.
That was when I first joined the scene. That was the first death I remember. And then I felt like there was like 2 or 3 every year after that.
Yeah, it seems like a high concentration, but I don't think there's been suicides or anything.
I think there's only been 2 suicides. that I
So yeah,
know
this
of.
seems like bad luck then.
Yeah, a
I
lot of
guess
it is.
suicide is also bad luck, but
Yeah, that's your own brain's bad luck. But yeah, it has just been like car crashes, shitty hearts giving out, like, you know, disease finally catching up with you, which, like, RIP Paul Spock. That one, I thought he was gonna die when I first met him. He's just
that's
always
what I
like, from my understanding, he's just kind of like always been dying.
Yeah, and
Then
then
when it
after a little while you think he's gonna live forever.
yeah, I was like, well, it's been 7 years, like, good on
He's the
him
boy
for
who cried wolf.
yeah. So like that one hit, but it wasn't as much of a surprise as all the other ones have been.
Paul
And
was Paul was cool.
whenever I felt extra shitty about doing comedy, I would just be like, well, like, fuck, my kidneys work. So like, if I'm not at as many mics as Paul Spock, or I'm not on as many shows in a month, like, what the fuck am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
he's actively dying and fucking killing it, and I'm just sitting here like, oh, my brain makes me sad. Like, so every once in a while it feels nice to kind of zoom the camera out and be like, your problems are internal, so go externalize somewhere.
Yeah. Damn, now I should go to the mic tonight after this.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, I'm really gonna do a podcast right up till the time where it'd be perfect to head out to the mic. And then I was like, but do I want to drive that far?
I'm pretty good at hitting them all the time. But I was thinking of taking this week off because I knew I had to miss the other days anyway.
Yeah.
So I figured I
It's
might as well take this day off too.
like my motto with comedy is like, if you aren't feeling it, don't do it. Cause you're gonna fuck with the audience and maybe give someone else a bad set too. Like, so
Hmm.
that's one of the main reasons I quit doing coffee and comics. Cause like after Nick died, August of 21, those next like 2-3 months that I was like having shows, I was barely getting them booked in time. I wasn't even putting out posters or anything. I was like zero effort, just like going along. And then Cliff died like a couple months later, and I was like, I can't go back into this space where a guy I knew came every week to bomb his dick off because he believed in comedy so much. We can all say it. Cliff knew it. I had him on the podcast a couple times. He knew he wasn't ever doing good,
Oh,
but he
that's
just liked being there and having the
being there.
community. And that's what I loved about the dude, is he was just like, yeah, I'm here. I'm going to do my 5 minutes of, I got brain damage. I got hit in the head with a thing. All right, bye. And then he would leave. And we'd be
I
like, all
actually
right.
right before he went, I saw him have one of the better sets I've seen him have at what's the weird bar? The Elbow Room.
Yeah. He just had, like a levity and a niceness to him that made me root for him on stage, even if he was never like killing it. I was just like,
Yeah.
there we go. He's got that story nice and tight. And so, like, to lose what it, like, there was people who showed up to that mic every week, and to lose any of them is devastating, because then, like, the landscape of your audience has changed. And so, like, having one of the guys I started comedy with die, and then having one of the mainstays of my open mic die, I was like, there's no joy in this. I listened back because I was still recording every set every week, because I always try to diligently record my sets so that I can't gaslight myself into thinking that I always bomb. But like, looking back, I look at those and I'm like, man, you can't keep practicing the same joke about like how life is meaningless. Like, you can't open up the mic being like, everyone here doing comedy is stupid because you should be out living life, and life doesn't have meaning anyway. Let's get our first comic up here. It's unfair. It's very unfair.
I can't disagree, but you can't worry about collateral damage. You just
Yeah,
got
you
to
just
do
got to
what you're
do it.
doing. And
And
yeah, get
so
out there. It's always good to see you, and I hardly ever do.
I'm gonna get out there more because like uh it's weird to be one of the old men in the scene now, because I remember being like a fresh-faced 25-year-old coming to Reno, and I was like, I'm gonna have so many comedy shows, and now I'm like, man, I gotta do one thing this month. That blows. I'm chiseling away at that shell. I'm gonna get it
Are you getting
uncalcified.
agoraphobic or?
I was extremely agoraphobic through most of 2022. Like I would
Oh,
just be
okay.
like, if I go outside and I go do anything, someone's gonna die. Like that's, I was like, if I go out and I meet somebody new that could be a friend, they're probably gonna die, so there's no point. And so I just stopped wanting to go do anything. And like there was a few times where I would like book a show and
You
then like the
kind of
week
have the
before,
stats backing you up.
yeah, and that's where I was. That's where it's like it really sucks when like the earth plays into your mental illness, because then you're
Yeah.
like, I've been proven right too many times.
I never
Yeah,
met Nick. It seemed like everybody thought fondly of him. I don't know how I missed him.
yeah.
I
He
don't
came
think I
up.
met him.
Yeah, he came up in the same like comedy class as like me and Austin, and a few others that have kind of like dispersed out. But then he was running the library mic in, I think he was running it in 2019 only, but he might have done it a little longer. I don't remember. But like 2019 was like such a good year for comedy. Right before the pandemic, right before everything went to shit.
Yeah.
2019 was really good because like he had his hosting schedule down, and that's like watching him host the library made me want to have my own mic, because I was like, he built such a nice community in that space. Because when we had lost Third Street Bar, which was like our mainstay for like the entire scene, we all had to go somewhere on Wednesdays. And so like the library like let us in. We already had the Sunday mic. They were like, fuck it, we'll do a Wednesday one too. Everyone come here.
Hell yeah.
And so they still have those. They still have both the Wednesday and Sunday, because the library's fucking dank. And I need to start going back there. But going there makes me sad too, because it makes me think of my dead friend. So I can't go to both of the old mics I loved. But
I've never
now,
heard somebody speak so highly of the library.
and that's the thing, is I've had plenty of bad times there. Some of them self-inflicted, some of them not.
I don't
But
think those are real books on the wall either.
you grab a book and you're like, this is a hookah. It tricked me.
The anarchist cookbook
I
covered up.
I miss having the Pioneer Underground. Just that
Yeah.
theater itself. Like that one really was fun. And I wish I wish they'd give it back.
I don't know what the problem is
It's
because I
it,
don't think they're using it for anything.
it's probably straight up just like it's not in code anymore. Like, remember how much that shit would leak when it was raining? They were probably
Well,
like,
it's
it's gonna
under the river.
collapse.
Yeah.
That's true. Holy shit. I didn't even think about that. That's probably
Yeah,
what's
I
going
never
on to
really
like the river
understood
started.
that. Yeah. The river started.
That's but like that, if I would have known how important it would feel to me now, I would have done it more. Cause like I think I did a solid like I know I did a solid year in there like almost every week. And then it started to wane a little bit, but I did like 3 years just in that space, and that felt right. No, maybe just two.
Yeah.
I think it was just about two. Because by the
I
time
did
it was
like
like
every night
2018,
for
2019, I couldn't do it.
2018, 2019. Yeah. I did start seeing you left. Yeah, I was there every week for like 3 years.
Yeah, because I remember like right as I was starting to fall off, you kind of reinvigorated the entire experience. Because without you, it was just like me and Drew hanging out and being like, Wayne's not even showing up today. This sucks. And then like Amy joined
I never
in.
worked with Drew.
Oh, really?
No, I
That's
know him real well, but I we didn't overlap in being there.
that makes a lot of sense because Wayne always needs like a golden boy to like to fucking abuse in the best way. I miss that spot. But it's just like he needs that one comedian who he's like, in the very least, they know enough about how this show should go that it will happen.
Yeah,
And so
Drew's
like,
killing it. It seems like.
yeah, he's got like when he said he was moving to Sacramento, I'm like, come on, that's like basically a lateral move. And boy, was I wrong. Which I
No,
am
it seems like
frequently.
that's a good next step. I don't
Yeah.
know where I'm going next, but I think I don't know. I don't know where.
Yeah. And that's what's tough, like kind of trying to suss out where good comedy happens because you don't want to chase trends. Like I would not for the life of me go to Texas for comedy right now. I'm sure
Hmm.
you have only like the hackiest, most bitter comics all trying to clout chase Joe Rogan's shit, you know? So it's just going to be a gaggle of scammers all trying to ride coattails. And that sounds awful, which, like, I
But
don't
isn't
know.
that going on everywhere, kind of?
Yeah,
Any
but
bigger
that's like
scene?
most scenes, but that's why, like, you don't want to go to the biggest one where everyone is stabbing each other. You just want to go to the one where like one guy stabs someone and then like 10 of the regular comics who are there go, no stabbing, get the fuck out of here. You know, like we are not a stabbing city. There's a dozen of us. Go home.
No, we got a pretty polite scene. Have you met
Yeah.
Chris Rojas?
I think he came to my mic once or twice back in the day, but I have heard of his mystique. Of the newer comics in the area, I've heard his name a few times from Austin, and
Oh
I am
yeah, he's
intrigued.
hilarious.
His pictures that I see, I'm like, this is just Prince. This is like a comedian who just has Prince energy, and I love that. I love anyone who shows up into comedy and they're like, yeah, I'm weird. That's what we're here for. So here we go.
I don't even he does like a different set every night, and
I
he's
love
just
that shit.
always so funny. I don't know how he does it. I guess not always so funny, but usually.
I
I don't
like
want to
it.
give him too much credit.
I like it when comedians, especially when you're just hitting the open mic circuit, are just like, fuck it. I'm not going to do any of the same jokes for like 2 weeks just to run through everything and see what sticks. And then, like, after a month or two, you can like pare it down to like a good 15. That's what I used to try to do is like, I would set my goal at 3 mics per week with a different set at each one. And then I would try that for like a month or two. And then I'd be like, these 2 jokes work. And I'd keep them. But then it stopped working. I stopped writing good jokes for like 2 years. And then,
No.
and then I was like, I got to find a new strategy because I'm just flailing in the wind up here. And
Yeah, I try for a new five every week and then whittle what works out of that down. I feel like I usually get one or two a week that somewhat stick.
stick a little bit. And that's if I could, I usually base it off of if I get an okay audience reaction, like 2 or 3 audience members laugh, or if I hear one comedian laugh too much, then
Yeah.
I at least know
Mo.
there's an audience for it. There's an audience for this bit. I just need to make sure to like tailor this to them. And so that's
Do you
always
know how to
fun.
tailor clothes?
I can very rudimentarily sew, but like I got big dumb hands. So like
Dumbass.
trying to be like, ooh, I'm gonna get the thread into the top of the needle makes me feel more giant than anything else in the world.
I was in sewing club in like fourth grade.
There's a club.
I don't know why. I thought it
Hell
was
yeah.
cool, and then it was just me and all the weird girls, and
Just you and a
but I had
gaggle
a
of
good
horse
time.
girls sewing blankets.
I made a guitar pillow. It was fun.
Everyone else is making just giant fucking horse blankets, and you're like, hey, I put it's a square, you know? Yeah, come on.
A cube.
I I own two sewing machines. I have no idea how to use a sewing machine. I can
How'd you
hand
get that?
sew. I my girlfriend or my fiance, I gotta correct myself. My fiance had one.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And
Or I think that's the only time you don't say congratulations, actually.
I
You
have no
say
idea what
when
the
you're
etiquette
getting
is.
married.
I did do you ever have manic episodes where you think you're gonna go antiquing, find something rare, and then spruce it up to sell on the internet? Because that's
I
how I
watch
got
Gary V. Oh yeah.
that's how I got my second sewing machine. I found like an original like 1918 Singer sewing machine that's built into this little end table. The sewing machine flips out and has a little plug, and it's got like all these little attachments, and it came with like the original manual, which is I think something that nerds love when they collect shit. And so like I got that and I was like, cool, I'm gonna like resell this for like double the price. And it's just an end table now that I keep forgetting about. I don't have like the hustling blood inside me. I just like stuff, as you can see by this cluttered fucking room behind me.
Yeah, you got a lot of stuff.
I just keep getting stuff and I'm like, this will pay off somehow. And then that plan never hatches.
I bought all the Dean Martin roasts and they were still sealed in their DVD package. Thought that would be something,
Hell yeah.
but no.
I
People
got
don't
like
want that.
I got like 5 Bill Cosby vinyl records from a thrift shop right before all the allegations and everything came out.
Damn.
So I was because I was in high school, I think, still. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy some stuff up. And then like I bought these records, and I was a big fan of older comedy because I liked the history of like how comedy started. So like Bill Cosby is one of the first like huge stand-ups of the oh if I can get all of my fucking comedy history right, of like the non-vaudevillian like Warsaw Jewish comedian population. Bill Cosby was the first person to have that sort of stand-up alone cadence, but do it to a broader audience. And it was revolutionary despite his numerous crimes.
Warsaw, Poland?
Yeah, so after all of the refugees from Nazi Germany kind of like came to America, they brought along their kind of like humor stylings and things, and lots of displaced Jews would have, you know, like jokes and bits about all the terrible shit they went through.
Hmm.
And like comedy in America was still very much like vaudevillian two-man show, you know, like who's on first and like shit like that. It was all like live sketch shit. But then like, you know, like these Jewish comedians were getting up by themselves and just kvetching to the audience about all their woes in a fun way. And everyone's like, these Jews are onto something. I have the kind of autism where I will get real into a subject and then never use that knowledge for good. Or, you know, like I've studied so much comedy things and I have a very analytical mind about the way things happen. But that also means that I'm very removed from it. You know, like I don't feel the emotion of comedy when I should. When I'm on stage, I have no barometer of whether or not I'm like doing good or I just always think things are going bad and everyone hates me, and my entire motive is to win each individual person back as I go, which is not a
But
good
people are
mode.
laughing.
I don't hear it. Honestly, when I'm on stage, I can I sometimes I'll forget to stop to like let them laugh at things because I'm just
Yeah, you
barreling
do just
through.
kind of keep yelling.
Yeah. And it's like bad.
Damn, sorry, I'm coughing.
It's all good. I'm purposefully trying to smoke less because the amount of podcasts that I had to edit all my coughing out of, I was like, that's too much.
Cigarettes or weed?
I don't know. Are you a cop? No, like I have to cut back my weed consumption. I never smoked cigarettes because I was a singer. I still am, but I used to be too. Mitch Hedberg. But yeah, so like I used to really care about how my voice sounded and like the quality of that ability. And then when the pandemic hit, I stopped caring about anything having to do with my body or internalized myself. My brain is floating about 40 feet up there at any given point. So now
Well,
I've
that
got to,
sounds fun.
yeah, now I've got to like relearn how to exist inside myself and then want that self to go out and do stuff.
That's got to be weird to, I don't know, try and control a body while thinking about it.
Yeah, I
Is that
believe they
what you're
call it
saying?
I believe they call it depersonalization, which is a really scary sounding term, but to me, it just like half the time I'm just like spaced out, not living in this. I'm just like in my brain, probably like flying. Who knows?
Huh.
Uh,
Astral projecting.
yeah, just
I
astral
wouldn't have thought you
projecting.
had so many issues.
Well, that's the thing is like I I because of the depersonalization and the over analyzing things, I know when I'm being too much. But sometimes that's what I want out of the situation. Like like this podcast. I'm just gonna steamroll over everything this whole time. So you just jump in whenever.
All right.
But like
I've been sitting back a little bit.
yeah. And that's where like that's one of the main things is like I know when my hands are on the steering wheel that I've got control, except I don't know what that steering wheel's attached to because I haven't looked into it. And then I start realizing, like, oh, I'm not in control at all. And then that's when I just kind of relax.
You're
I
just
have,
Maggie in the back of the Simpsons theme
yeah,
song.
I have to trick my brain into remembering that I'm just a person.
What do you think you are otherwise?
Oh, there's a god complex just clanging around in there. Like it, I've written bits
Wouldn't
about
God not think he sucks at comedy?
right. I've written bits about this and the line so far, which like I have to really break it down for the audience because it's too much knowledge for the one sentence I say. But it's the idea like I was never raised with religion, so I don't really believe in God. But I also have a God complex. So it's crazy because I frequently just don't believe in myself. And
Go to
that's
AA
just
and believe in yourself
right. And that's
out
what
of
like
necessity
I and that's what
or
like
out of the rules.
if I found God, I would be the worst like Christian, you know? Because like
You'd have to fight him for the title.
I'm gonna I'm gonna arm wrestle Joseph Smith and I'm gonna take over Mormonism. I gotta take over one that's already started.
Yeah,
If you had to take over a major religion, which one would you choose?
I was just thinking about that. Yeah, you'd have to go with the Mormons. They seem like they might just let it slide.
Scientologists seem easy to trick though.
Not the
Not the high
top
up
one.
ones. That's true.
Yeah.
So to bring it all the way back down again, that makes me think like I used to really believe that if I didn't believe something didn't affect me, that it couldn't. You know,
I feel
like,
like there's a bunch of girl pop songs written about that exact phenomenon.
yeah, Except I would do it with comedy.
What
Like
doesn't kill you makes you stronger and whatnot.
stand
Well, taller.
But like there's been times where like I'll be doing a show and like I'm actively trying to pretend that the bar being loud isn't like annoying to me. And that will make me like antagonistic of the audience, which is not a good move. You should
No,
not be
not on an
against
open
the
mic.
audience.
Yeah, they're on your side.
Yeah, and
Except
so
they're
like
often not.
right? And so that's what you never know where their loyalties are lying. And so like I was saying before, like whenever I go into a situation, I just always assume I am losing and need to win them back. So I'm starting at a 0 when I go on stage. And then when I think they're not listening at all, that puts me down in the negative zone. So I'm just immediately starting at fuck everybody here. Here's my words, which is not for comedy.
It sounds why do you keep doing it if you know all this information?
And that's that's the big question.
I think you do. I think you do well every time.
I
But
I I'm usually able to put aside the shit in my brain long enough, and that's where coffee and comics really helped me. Like hosting that mic every week, even through some of the worst fucking times in my life, really made me appreciate just joking around, having a little time, you know, because we only get so many joyful times in our life that like sometimes you gotta force them, but it's better to force being happy than to let yourself just be sad all the time.
of course.
Yeah, and so I had to learn that because my default is always fuck this audience, and here's why.
Here's a
The-
little laundry list of reasons.
yeah, and so like refinding my joy has definitely helped me be like, oh hey, maybe not everyone is against me all the time.
How'd you find joy?
Oh fuck, just starting to do comedy again. Like I did the Savage Henry Festival back in October, and like I've been hitting a few mics whenever I can. And I would get to those places just like with so much like balled up inside that I'll show up like at that last mic that we did the podcast at Coffee and Comics. I'll just show up like an hour early because I'm just lost
Yeah.
in my own brain. And I'll just like sit at a table. I'll just sit at a table doing nothing for a full hour because being in standby mode in the place I need to be, I know in my brain is better than isolating, but I also don't want to live for that hour. So I just try to be like, I have arrived.
Power down.
Yeah,
Well,
until
you
it's time
powered
to
up
go on
for the
stage.
podcast at least.
And that's why I was so eager to do it. I was like, hey, this is a great way to pass the time and not just be like, must be in public, you know?
Yeah,
So
that
that
was a
felt
fun one.
nice.
Topics and tangents, by the way.
Yeah,
Petri
everyone check
dish
it out.
listeners.
Topics and Tangents available on the streaming services and on YouTube.
Yeah, Apple,
Don't forget.
Spotify, and YouTube. How was Savage Henry?
It
That
was
always seems like a good time.
yeah, it was fun. It was one of those times where there was so many new comedians. I was like, fuck. I have been doing it for fucking 8-9 years, and there's these people out here being like, I've been doing comedy for 2 years, and their sets fucking like dialed in. I'm like, good. There's people out here like keeping these types of things afloat, and I'm just out here floating on the water that they keep raising up because I got grandfathered in. And it
Fat
made
people
me
float easier.
right. I got all that mass ready
You're
to.
not really fat. You're just big. Big all around.
I've gotten plenty fat during the pandemic. I
I
was
feel like it
looking.
just went to like density though. I feel like you aren't any like I don't know, bit yeah.
Yeah, I just have like one shape of body, and it'll just be like it'll just look the same no matter what. But like I gained 100 pounds over the last 3 years And like, I notice it because when I say too long of a sentence, I have to breathe real hard afterwards. But most
Oh,
people
no.
don't know. That's another thing is like, I got fat enough where it affected my comedy. That's rough. You know, so
That didn't even happen to Ralphie May.
right? Happened to John Panette, but he died. So that
I don't
guy.
know him.
Exactly. He was like an up and coming older comedian. I think he was 50 when he died, but he was like in his 40s when he was rising up. And he had just a lot of bits about how hard it is to be like fat and addicted to food, and how hard it is to like, you know, live life when all you think about is sandwiches. You know, like fun things about how he's like, I'm too fat to be alive. Hey. And then he fucking died.
Out of control Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah, basically. And so that's where I've taken lots of inspiration to be like, even if even if I'm failing in my personal life, that can make great comedy if I let myself make the comedy, which is, you know, I'm frequently antagonizing in a fun way, I guess.
I feel like you keep contradicting yourself in
I
like
am,
the same sentence.
yeah, I like to do that. That's the two wolves
Keep them
fighting inside
guessing.
me.
The two wolves?
Yep, I've got two wolves inside me. Both of them are always fighting a
What are
thing.
their
I don't know.
names?
That just seems like it should be a t-shirt with wolves on it. If I had to name the two wolves inside me, uh
That seems like something they would sell at like a gas station in Elko.
yeah,
I've got
definitely
two wolves fighting inside.
the good wolf, I'm gonna call him Bertram. Uh and the bad wolf is just gonna be called the sneeze. That sounds like a bad
Are these
radio
in your
show.
brain or like your stomach?
I think that my stomach does worse thinking than my brain. So I
That
think
makes
I've got a
sense. It's
brain
not a
wolf and a
brain.
stomach wolf. Yeah. And
Which one's the bad one?
the stomach wolf's the bad one. He's the one like, yeah, get two sandwiches at Capriati's. Who gives a fuck if they're the size of your whole arm? You know, that's the stomach wolf. And the brain wolf is like, you don't need 5,000 calories in a day. You just don't. It's mathematically impossible. So, yeah, stomach wolf is going to start losing more. But now there's like a third wolf in my lungs who's like, what if we got high before stomach wolf got what he wanted?
Yeah.
And that's
But
bad.
stomach wolf is or lung wolf is in cahoots with stomach wolf.
Definitely. He's like, if we smoke a bunch, then we gotta get two sandwiches. And then it's two against one.
But
Yeah.
they're wolves and you're a person.
I
So
am
you can outvote
frequently
them.
yeah, I'm frequently outnumbered by the internal voices that I use to steer the ship. I It's crazy to me that people aren't constantly yelling at themselves in their own head.
I am always doing that.
And that's why I like your comedy. Because
Thank you.
I can tell there's an internal voice being like, don't do that. Or definitely do that. And it's
Yeah, not a lot of saying no going on.
and that's the tough part, because one of these voices inside is the one making the comedy. And I have been letting the stomach wolf do the comedy for I let him have the
He doesn't
wheel
even
for a
have
good.
thumbs.
Yeah, and that stomach wolf will frequently be like, hey, you want to go do comedy? Don't. And then I don't for months.
You got a wolf doing a just say no ad to
Yeah.
your comedy career
He's like,
inside your stomach.
He's like, but if you're good at comedy, then how are you gonna be cool?
That's like the coolest thing, though,
Yeah, I
in my
agree.
view.
I I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone I consider cool that isn't just like a fully broken person.
No, they're the best.
That's what I think. That's like one of my favorites in comedy is Maria Bamford because of how fucking busted she is, like internally, and how good she is at externalizing that voice for the audience to understand.
In a hushed tone.
Yeah, or various voices. And that's something that I've always striven for is like an amount of emotional honesty that can be too much. And if you're not good enough at writing, it does not pay off. You are just going to be sad at the audience and they'll just be like, we should go.
But they never leave.
They never leave. They keep coming back because they want to watch it burn.
Who are these people that are
I don't
always
know.
at these things?
The audience just exists. And that's another thing I always have trouble with. I don't like to look at the audience. It's like that's why like I don't ever do crowd work or anything because I am not gonna look someone directly in the eyes because like what if I look at them and they suddenly know all of my jokes and then I'm useless? I don't know.
You just fold into a husk.
Yeah, like
They steal your skeletal skeleton.
you have any fun irrational fears like you might Freaky Friday switch with an audience member?
I wish that happened more often.
Right?
I would put a little spice into life. Just one day you're a welder. Wake up and you're a welder. You don't know how to weld.
Sometimes to me, the amount of effort you can tell went into a bit is infinitely more funny than the bit itself. Like if you can tell somebody spent like a full hour probably like memorizing a bunch of like a whole rant they're about to say, or if you can tell they like memorize something from a movie to do, it's like this is really stupid and I can tell that it took more than the effort of you getting up on stage right now, and that's funny to me that somebody was like
I do enjoy that.
yeah, someone like or like someone doing a song or something. You're like, you had to write this. You sat down, wrote this down, put chords to it, and were like, this has to be said more than this one time.
Yeah, like Luke Westberg, I feel like all his stuff, he must put hours in.
Yeah, and that's why I love it.
He's got good stuff. But I do always see the effort that must be because he's everything like rhymes and has
has a
what is
melody
it,
to it.
assonance? No, what's where all the words start with the same letter?
Alliteration.
Alliteration.
Hell yeah.
What's assonance?
Assonance is when the vowels in a sentence are similar. So it's not exactly rhyming, but everything like hour and flower all being in a thing. It'll all kind of rhyme, but
Gotcha.
yeah, but you know, English
And
class.
owl.
Hell yeah. I love overthinking things. So like when I first started comedy, I did stuff that took way too much time in preparation to then like just go do 5 minutes at an open mic. Like I had a whole bit where I would pre-record myself and I would get up on stage and pretend to be an animatronic. But the entire thing is pre-recorded and I'm not saying anything live. So the entire thing is already premeditated. And I'm just up there robot mouthing like a fucking idiot, and it's like got like sketch elements and fun things. And I used to do that just for an open mic. because it was funny to me that I spent like 8 hours writing and recording a thing before showing up to this.
That sounds like a rough way to bomb.
Yeah, and it turned into several weeks of bombing sometimes, because I would be like, well, I spent all this time recording this shit, I gotta do it again.
I just
Yeah.
bought a bag full of Warhead different candies, but not the original Warheads for
Hell
70
yeah.
cents.
Now, so are they even more sour or are they less sour?
They were less sour, but
Ah.
yeah,
Hey,
but it was worth a try.
speaking of burning out your palate, you've eaten dog food on the internet. How was that journey?
I had. It was I thought it was gonna go better. I thought I had something there, but it did not live up to expectations, and then you're just eating dog food. And then now I have a podcast where I do the same thing except not eat dog food. I think maybe if I did it in like minute clips on TikTok or something, but I
Yeah.
was doing like long form videos.
Yeah,
And yeah, the live ones were fun.
you gotta edit down to the short form so that in the very least, people will be like, well, I feel sorry for you. Like, I just I like that you're taking wild swings just like I do. You're like, well, comedy's only gonna go how it's gonna go, so I'm gonna do this now, and I'm gonna put my whole chest into it, and I'm gonna make it happen. And then afterwards, you're like, oh fuck, what, like 12 views? Shit. Because
Would you like to eat dog food with me sometime?
yeah, fuck it, I'll eat dog food with you one of these days. Because
Hell yeah.
I've also done shit where I'm like, once I edit it and get everything done, like somebody's gonna love this. I did my like too fat for that series of things on YouTube, which was only 2 things, because then I got too fat to even do those things. But it was like the show idea was just like, let's see if I can do this thing, and then I did it, and I wasn't going hard enough to then make it funny afterwards. It was just me honestly trying a thing, failing, and then trying to edit together. And so, like,
How many things were you too fat for?
well, I started with skateboarding, and then it went so bad the first time, I tried it again. And then I was like, nope, not going to do that. Uh, And then my second idea was I was going to try yoga to get more flexible, to be better at other stuff. And I was so bad at yoga that I was so like, I'm the kind of fat now where I need a full breath before putting on each individual shoe, So I'm like, just to heft those on. So that video became about me doing yoga so that I could even just put on my shoes to go do anything else outside.
That'd be cool to be a flexible fat.
Right? That's where I like I was watching the behind the scenes for Pineapple Express, and Seth Rogen was talking
Are there
about
fat people in that movie? Oh, Pineapple
Yeah,
Express. I was
Seth
thinking
Rogen's like,
American Pie.
yeah, no, he's like Hollywood fat, where he's still just like a regular sized dude. He's just not like in a real good shape, but he wanted to be like a little chubby for the movie because it's funnier that he's that he's just like a fat loser having a crazy adventure. And so he would just do yoga every day and then like not do any cardio and also still like eat like shit and smoke a bunch of weed. But he was so flexible that he could like pull off doing some of his stunts, so he didn't like fuck himself up trying to slide over a car or something. So
What?
it's funny. It's funny to be fat, but also still good at stuff. It really is.
Yeah.
But that's where I fall prey to. No matter how fat I get, it's still not the funny kind. I was working on a bit about this too, because it started off with my bit about how like I know I'm fat even when people say I'm not, because I tried to wear a fat suit and I couldn't. So like now I
couldn't.
know.
The fat suit wouldn't fit.
Yeah, it was too small.
You had to hollow it out.
Had to had to get I gotta get a more better fitting fat suit so I can look better in it. I don't know.
I could see you just wearing a fat suit just for months straight and not letting it, like waiting for somebody to notice or something.
It would be a really funny bit if I like got in shape, but then just wore like a really big fat suit, and everyone's like, "Man, he gained even more weight." And then one day I just show up transformed. Oh, that'd be fucking funny. That's
That'd be
one of
really
those
cool.
things where if I make it into a bit, maybe I'll just get super jacked.
That sounds like a good bit to a healthy bit.
That's a good bit. I'll be so good at running around on stage. What's the dumbest bit you've tried to pull off, even if it wasn't on stage? Like, have you ever committed to something and just hoped that somebody laughed while you were committing to it?
uh, I had a hole in the bottom of my jeans and I thought it looked like a vagina. And then I bought a pair of baby pants and then I pulled them out of that hole. Like I was giving, like my pants were giving birth to other pants.
That's fucking dumb as shit.
I made it as a TikTok video first. I feel like that was pretty good, but then I tried it on stage and it was awkward.
Everyone's just
I
like,
just
I can't.
started screaming and ripping pants out of my other pants.
So as you stand here before your God, do you have any parting wisdom? Because I think we're just about out of juice for this guy.
Your computer or yourself?
Both. I'm always out of juice. Again, I start off at a 0 and I just try to claw my way to a 1.
Oh no, that was my headphone.
Hell
All
yeah.
right. There we go. Good timing. Yeah, parting words of wisdom. No, I'm good.
Hell yeah. Well, we'll have you on one of these days with the full party and a day where I'm not feeling like manically explaining how my brain works.
No, that was an interesting time. An interesting insight into Bobby Benedict.
Hell yeah, man. Well, anything else to plug? Everyone go look at Topics and Tangents wherever you get your media. Also, your YouTube is just Luke Demus, right?
Luke Demus comedy.
Luke Demus comedy. You can find.
I don't that's the app. I don't know what people mean by when they say your YouTube is because everybody there's like a bunch of Luke Demuses.
That's what's tough is unless you have like 1,000 followers or some shit on YouTube, they don't give you like the slash and then your name thing. So it's just like a bunch of jumbled characters.
I'm working my way up there from just posting a lot of shorts.
Do it. Get some YouTube stuff because I think YouTube
Oh,
is
I was
still going to
gonna
be going
ask you
strong.
actually. Oh yeah, definitely. I had a similar thought that I was listening to the podcast and you guys were talking about a weighted phone case. And I thought that would be a funny little short thing. I was
That could
gonna
be
see
fun.
if that was if that was something.
I've been seeing so many sketches that people have been doing. I'm like, oh shit.
Matt Owens has been killing it.
Yeah, I knew he was talking about it a while back, and then I started seeing things pop up, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Someone actually.
I feel like he was
the
talking about it for years.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, with comedians, sometimes we say a bunch of dreams and then nothing ever happens.
Exactly.
And so, like, when you find someone who's actually doing something, you're like, "Hey, that's cool."
I love seeing people do things.
Hell yeah, and that's why your podcast is dank to have. Man, I've been doing this podcast for fucking like 5 years now, way too long of amount of time. And boy, there was some times where it was really good, and then there was some times where it really wasn't good. And I think I'm back on that upswing if I just start talking to other people again.
Yeah. I'm glad you had me on.
Yeah, man. I'm glad that other people want to do stuff and also want to be included in my stuff. It's such a crazy feeling. After spending a bunch of time huddled down in just all my brain's sadness that it could muster, I like break out of it and I'm like, oh shit, humanity is still like going?
Yeah.
Cool.
I like
People
the little
still like
dance.
have fun.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get going, I guess.
Yup, sounds good. That has been the podcast.
The Petri dish.